Well, welcome back into another episode of the Believe in Georgia Tech podcast. We are your co-hosts. RJ is healthy. RJ is alive.
Yes, sir.
He's we got to make sure he's on the instant reactions because when he's not healthy to do instant reactions, apparently Tech loses. So we gotta keep him healthy this year. And then of course, friend of the program, special guest Najeh Wilkins. Najeh, how you doing, man?
Doing good. Can't complain, man. Appreciate y'all having me on the show.
Absolutely. Like everybody, like we've had him on for recruiting. He does. Whenever I'm in a pinch, literally he's the first guy I call to help with any of the shows. So we really appreciate him being on here to talk about Tech's upcoming game this weekend. We also are going to get RJ's thoughts on the Syracuse game. Like I said, he wasn't here on Saturday to do the instant reaction, and we just kind of still unpacking a little bit of that because we're not gonna down any opponent this week, but obviously Georgia Tech. This is probably the easiest game on the schedule. Like I know that is the last thing Brent Key would ever want to hear me say or anything about an opponent, but it is true. But before we do that, like always, guys, we really appreciate the support. We're nearing 600 subscribers. We want to get up to 1,000 by the end of the season. Like that's the goal by the end of the season. We're nearing the 600 mark. If we can get up to 1,000, we really appreciate the support from everyone. It's great hearing from you guys. I know we lost on Saturday. Tech lost on Saturday. Syracuse fans were really nice, and they showed a lot of love in both on the preview show and the Instant React show. I know a lot of Tech fans might not want to hear this right now, but shout out to Syracuse fans for showing some love. But we would love if you subscribe to the show, hit the thumbs up button, hit that notification bell so you know whenever a new show's out. Listening on podcast form, just be sure to follow us, give us a rating, 1 star, 5 star. Just let us know what you think. But first topic on hand, RJ, what were your thoughts from the game on Saturday? Me and Najeh talked about it a lot. We kind of gave our thoughts, and we'll kind of touch on some other stuff. But we have not heard what you thought about Saturday and kind of what Tech does from here.
Yeah, it's still setting in for me, but I think going into the game, the way it played out, like this is the game that we were scared of happening. Like this really big passing attack by Kyle McCord. Syracuse gets up early. Georgia Tech can't fight back. I will say, like, biggest weakness of the game, I think, was the pass defense. If you want to go more specific, I think it was the pass rush in general. There were some plays where I questioned the decision making, questioned the personnel. Like you obviously had Arondé Gadsden's touchdown up the middle where the only guy set to cover him was Kyle Eford. Not that I don't think Kyle Eford's capable. I don't think he can keep up with Arondé Gadsden in 20 yards. Like that's just not the kind of player he is. He's a great player. Just like having a linebacker on the best wide receiver on the field wasn't a great decision. There were a few things I was concerned about on defense. I thought Haynes King looked decent. I really liked Jamal Haynes throughout the game. Chase Lane obviously got the touchdown. But going forward, I just want to see Georgia Tech be able to control drives on defense because we kind of saw this against Georgia State, even though they didn't finish the drives. Like they got downfield, and when Syracuse got downfield, they scored. So I just hope Georgia Tech, can at least have some drives where, you play an opponent and they're going nowhere because it feels like at least on every drive they were to the 50-yard line. That is just one thing for me that I think is concerning, especially when you play teams like Miami and Georgia, coming up on the schedule.
Yeah. So I want to get your thoughts before we go into VMI. A couple of decisions. Me and him talked about it on Saturday night, or I guess Saturday afternoon, wasn't really night. But so you had the end of the first half where Tech went a little slower than usual. Brent Key did give us a little bit of an explanation the other day in his pressers. He did not want to give Syracuse any time whatsoever to try to even go down and get like a late field goal in the first half. But also the last drive of the game after Tech made it 31-28, cut it to 3 points, kicked the ball deep. They didn't onside kick it again. So you had the chop block penalty on second down. Just kind of your thoughts on should he have taken the penalty, or were you fine with him just saying, hey, 3rd and 10, one play we can stop him and get the ball back? I just want to kind of get your thoughts on both of those decisions there.
Yeah, I would say take the penalty because we saw what Syracuse had done all throughout the game on third down and 10. Like, they were very consistent. Obviously, I don't want to doubt his playmaking or decision making because, if I say one thing, like, say if, Syracuse didn't convert the ball on 3rd and 10, like, we're going to say, Brent Key looked like a genius because of declining that penalty, but because it didn't work out that way, that's not how we saw it. I don't love it. Personally, I wouldn't have done it. But I feel like he is, I wouldn't say errant. He just makes some unique decisions as a coach. And I guess as a fan, we just have to accept that. So I was fine with the decisions. I didn't love them.
Yep. I mean, his explanation on I think it was yesterday was, look, we just thought, giving them more downs, like they were hitting explosive plays and like they were beating us no matter what. So like taking the downs was more important than the yards at that point. Look, I get it. Again, hindsight's 2020. I think it's very easy to say, at this point, yeah, you should have taken the penalty. But I think at the end of the day, regardless of decision, you have to stop somebody on 3rd and 10. I don't care if you're playing Georgia. I don't care if you're playing the Kansas City Chiefs. Like, you have to, if it is 3rd and 10, you have to get a stop. And, it wasn't 3rd and 1. It wasn't 3rd and 3. Like, it's 3rd and long still. Like, I get you could have made it 2nd 25. I think that's what it would have been. And you could have, done something there. But I still think at the end of the day, your defense has to get a stop. And they didn't. And, like, that was kind of the story of the whole game. But I think, are we ready to put that game to bed now?
I'm willing to forget about it.
Did you have any other thoughts, Najeh?
No, that's all.
Anything you wanted to add in there?
No, I think you guys know that we broke it down. So if you guys, again, with that full breakdown, go back to Believe and Georgia Tech, and you guys can watch the full breakdown and our thoughts. But no, I think we nailed it on the head, and I liked RJ's analysis on it as well.
All right. Well, I guess let's look at Saturday. Again, without being disrespectful to the opponent, Tech is a big favorite this week. They should win this comfortably. Like, I don't think anybody expects anything any different, but I think there's going to be certain things we want to see this week, especially there's a big game next week. Some of the things like I want to see are kind of like maybe not necessarily like statistics or anything like that, but it's the two most important things I want to see is, and I guess they kind of go hand in hand, is a crisp start. Like, I don't want there to be any – it's the end of the first quarter and Tech's up 7-3, and there's just a lot of weird, funky playing going on, and they look sloppy, and kind of not looking ahead to Louisville. And again, I think those things go hand in hand. Just come out, take care of your business quickly. And again, this is something that obviously coaches and people won't say publicly, but I think, look, they've had a long road trip to Ireland to play that game. You just had another long trip to Syracuse. I know it's not as long as Ireland, but that's still a very long road trip for you to go there and back. And you have a ranked opponent next week who is on rest, might I add. Like, Louisville has had basically like a preseason up to this point. Like, they played Austin Peay in week 1, and then they played Jacksonville State last week. And they're on a bye this week. Like, they're not even – like, they don't play anybody this weekend. So I do think getting up on VMI as an offense and getting up on them quickly is crucial because I'm a fan of trying to get guys out of there as quick as possible. I know that, like, again, that's not going to get said publicly, but, like, I think you want to get up on them, get comfortable quickly, and then rotate some guys in because you're going to have a chance against Louisville on the road next week. I think you need to be fresh, and I think, like, they've played more games than most teams, outside of the other teams that played on week 0. Like, they've played a lot, and Florida State's already had a bye week. Like, Tech has not had a bye week up to this point yet, so I think doing that would be great. I think y'all would agree with me that the running game, like, it's going to be better Saturday, but I just want to see it, like, just absolutely dominate Saturday because it was a very subpar effort from anybody not named Haynes King. I think this is obviously a chance for Anthony Carey to get some more carries and kind of show what he can do because I think go back to the spring, me and RJ have been talking about it, like, there are some talented guys there, but nobody has stepped up kind of in the way, you had a Dante Smith last year to be able to take some of that load off Jamal Haynes. So that's something I want to see. But whichever one of you guys wants to go first, kind of, and what you want to see from the offense and kind of what you're expecting.
For me, man, I want to see that physicality again. I felt like kind of in Syracuse game, it got a little overpowered. Now they're not going to face that same front that they faced in this game, but I want to see them get back to physical, and I want to see, to Jackson's point, that running game, right? Who's going to be that number 2 back outside of obviously Jamal Haynes? Chad Alexander gave some good play. He didn't play a lot in this last game. Anthony Carey got more of the load outside of Haynes, and then obviously Trey Cooley's been dealing with an injury. So I want to see who's going to be that next back for them. And then I want to see a more dynamic offense. I thought this offense didn't take a lot of shots. One shot to Eric Singleton all game. I want to see the explosive plays again, like we seen against Georgia State, the Malik Rutherford long play, the nice creativity with Eric Singleton Jr. I want to see more creativity. And then defensively, one part I'm going to highlight is the defensive front. Now, this is not Syracuse's offensive line. We need more sacks, man. Now, I know for some it might be the personnel, but there's still no excuse why Romello Height can't eat, Jordan Van Berg can't eat, Zeke Biggers can't eat. All these guys should be having a big game on the defensive front. And I think the last point for me is the opening drive. I think Tech has given up at least 2 or 3 maybe touchdowns in the first couple games, just as far as the opening drive. Need to slow that down, and it needs to be a punt, in that first drive. They need to get the ball back to offense and let them cook, And last thing before I throw it to RJ, I want to see them believe a little bit more at Haynes King. If the running game is struggling, not saying they don't, but if the running game is struggling, put the ball in his hands, man, and let him do his thing. He got a good grasp of the offense. He knows what he's doing, and he showed you nearly that he can pull off a comeback against Syracuse.
Yeah, and the one thing that I really want to see when we talk about, like, offensively, I want to see – the offensive line has been great. I want to see them get a lot of push in the run game because VMI, even against William and Mary, like, if you go back and watch that game, whatever motivation you have to watch that game, VMI got pushed around pretty much that entire game by William and Mary. So I feel like whoever you put in that backfield, I don't think you're going to establish a second running back in this game just because of the nature of the game, being what it is. But I think you're going to see some guys get some pretty big carries, have some pretty big holes up front, they can run through. I do like your point about seeing explosive plays on offense because we really haven't seen that, and I kind of want to see them air it out because I believe in Haynes King. We've seen what he can do last year with some big throws to, Malik Rutherford and Eric Singleton, and they had big play guys, but that hasn't really happened. And I think now this game is your opportunity to see what you have with some of those downfield plays.
Yeah. I mean, everybody knows that they want to run to set up the pass. Like, they're not going to come out and throw it 80 times a game ever. They shouldn't. But, we've been talking about kind of, even before the season and kind of into it when we kind of saw what they were doing. Like, Syracuse was able to stop the run. Like, I know you want to be able to run on Syracuse. I think we were all surprised that they couldn't run on Syracuse. But that's where you have to be able to adapt and be able to still throw the ball downfield and be able to be comfortable because, the offensive drives, it was either touchdown or nothing. Like, there was no, like, driving it down the field a little bit and having to punt. It was like touchdown or 3-and-out. Like, that's what it was all game. And, again, you should see it Saturday. Like, you're a much better team. But, I just want them to be crisp and not looking ahead and put this away early. Like, make nobody have to worry about it at all. Any other thoughts on offense anybody has? Well, I guess I'll give my defensive thoughts. Like, it's pretty simple. Like, again, just dominate. Like, that's just what I want to see. Like, you are the much better team in this game, just in all phases. Like, I want to see maybe rotate some guys in to get them some snaps on the defensive line. Like, obviously the pass rush should be a lot better in this game against this kind of opponent. Now VMI is going to miss their starting quarterback in this game. Now, I don't kind of know what their game plan is going to be. Like, I don't know how they're going to plan to attack, but I would imagine, like, if you were VMI, I think you're going to try to throw the ball. I think that's definitely the weakness on Georgia Tech's defense right now, and hopefully that they maybe some quick stuff, and I think Tech's going to have to be prepared for that. Just kind of domination all around. I don't think you're not going to be scheming up anything to just throw the book at VMI. Again, no disrespect, but I don't think you're going to see a lot of exotic looks or anything like that. but just kind of domination in all phases of the game. Get the ball, and I want to see them create some turnovers too, because we talk about the pass rush and not being able to get sacks, but they're not forcing many turnovers either. So that's something you kind of want to see this week. Anything from you guys? Any specific players defensively you want to watch this week, or kind of anything else that maybe I didn't hit on?
Yeah, a couple of things I do want to touch on. You said VMI would try and pass this game. I actually don't think that's what they're going to look like, because they went out William Mary. They were big underdogs in that game. They threw the ball maybe 10 times that entire game. Their running back, Hunter Rice, they like a lot. He's got 7 yards a carry. Like, he's pretty solid. They got a blocking tight end who's 6'7". So they're not as small up front as people honestly think without looking at the stats. I'm looking to see, full shutdown of the offense. Like, VMI has not thrown the ball really at all in any of the games. Their backup quarterback is really even more of a mobile guy than their starter. You're going to see a lot of different run plays, a lot of jet sweeps, a lot of other guys getting involved. And I just want to see let none of it happen. Let none of the trickery, none of the special plays that they're going to run. Stop all of that immediately, and I think Georgia Tech will.
Yeah, I think same for me, kind of on the same standpoint of RJ. Like, I want to see them dominate, right? I want to see the defensive front. I want to see guys that got picked on a lot last week, Kyle Eifert, Trinilis Tatum, them having bounce-back games. That's the part I'm looking for. And to his point, they're going to run the ball a lot. You got Chandler Wilson coming in after Colin Shannon got hurt. They're going to run the ball with Hunter Rice, who leads them in rushing. I think he has over 260-plus yards rushing right now. They're going to try to feed him, and they're going to try to probably run a little bit of RPO. So for Georgia Tech, you kind of know the game plan going in. Stuff to run, get some turnover. They should be trying to get some forced fumbles and things like that and get the ball back to your offense. So I want to see how they look. And I'm looking really at the defensive line. I want to see them dominate a game. I feel like I've not seen that yet. I'm like I said before, Zeke Biggers, Romello Height, Jordan Vandenberg, who rotates in. I want to see them all, one of those three, have a big game in this one, whether that's getting tackles for loss, turnovers, or sacks, whatever it may be. But I want to see them dominate and really put their impact on the game. Like, they should not be scoring a lot of points in this one. It should be less than, I think, 17 points. That's a dominant game for me with Georgia Tech defense.
Yeah, I think those are all pretty good points. Look, I think we're all expecting. I think we would all predict Georgia Tech to win. Is there any bold predictions from like a player perspective, or maybe something unique you want to throw in for this game? Because I think if I just say predict who's going to win the game, I think we all know where we're leaning there. So I'll let you guys go first.
I'll start. I think Eric Singleton goes off in this game. He hasn't had like a big game yet. He's had a touchdown and things like that, but he hasn't had his stamp on the game yet. I think he goes for over 150 yards and 2+ touchdowns.
I'm going to go a completely different route. I'm going to go, I don't think Haynes King is going to play later in the game. Like, I'm hoping that we'll see some of Zach Pyron. I'm hoping we'll see, some players not in the starting unit. So I'm going to go out there. I'm going to say Zach Pyron throws for over 200 yards. I want to see him back in the rotation. He is kind of the same profile as Haynes King. He's a very hard runner, but, I want to see some electric passing from him.
I like all those. I'm gonna. I was actually gonna hit on Singleton as well. I think he goes over 100 yards. I'm gonna say the defense forces 4 turnovers this weekend. I'm just, whether it's fumbles, anything. I think they find a way to just look. I think they've heard all week about how bad they've been, and regardless of who you're playing, I think that's going to motivate you. And this is like a get right game, I guess, as some people would call it. And I think they're going to be out to show that they're better than they were last weekend. Again, I know it's VMI, but I think, when you have a poor performance like that and you have an opponent you're better than the next week, I think it is a chance to really come out and do some things. So I'm going to say 4+ turnovers on Saturday. And then I think Eric Singleton's going to have a big game. Look, we've seen him get there in the running game. We were there for the Georgia State game, him taking that reverse. But yeah, I'm hoping, this game is over by the first half and we see some guys rotate in, because again, I really do think it's like, if this is the first game of the season, you might want to see your guys get some more reps and get in there and say, wipe any rust off. But again, you've been to Dublin, you've been to Syracuse already. You have to go to Louisville next week, and that's going to be the best team you've played up to this point in the season. They're better than Syracuse, so it's going to be a really tough environment. So I think you need to kind of keep a mental note of that and just be ready for it. But anything else about the game, guys, or we good?
Nah, man, I think Yellow Jackets should come out top. Tech fans, y'all should feel good about this one. Obviously, the next week comes. I know the fellas will have a really good breakdown against Louisville. But Georgia Tech should win this pretty handily. Like, fans, they should have a good day, good night. Absolutely,
and that's what we're here for. So that'll be the show for today. I know it's a little shorter than usual, but it just kind of is what it is this week. But again, if you're watching this and you are not a subscriber, I highly recommend you subscribe. Hit that notification bell so you know when we got new content out. Give this video a like. Podcast form, pretty much the same thing. Just give us a rating. Leave comments. We love the support, guys. We love the community we're building and the feedback we get. We really, really appreciate you guys. Like it can't be said enough. It's a lot of fun to do this, and we've grown a lot over the past year or so since we started this, and we want to continue to do so. But that'll be the show for today, and appreciate you guys tuning in.